technology really lends to it. It creates this false sense of connection, but it doesn't give you that vibration that you have when you actually meet with real people. So I think that technology, it's a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways.
Welcome in. Here we are, another episode of Adventures in Business Live. Mandi is coming to us from a satellite location. How are we doing today?
Hi, I'm in Ohio. I'm back in my parents' bedroom. Not my parents. I'm back in the spare bedroom in the upstairs loft in Cleveland, Ohio. Here we are.
Yes. But tell the people what you're doing in Ohio. You know, what's going to happen that's going to be very momentous this week.
Well, it's fourfold. There's 4 things happening in Ohio. The momentous thing, Wednesday, in 2 days from now, I am hitting the stage at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is a huge deal. I'm so excited. I'm going to be giving a speech about being visible online and establishing your best social capital. And I don't know, as a girl growing up in Ohio, being at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, speaking on the stage that like Taylor Swift and Ben Folds and John Bon Jovi have been on, it's an honor and a dream come true. So I'm very excited about that.
I echo that. We'll give you one of these. Hold on.
Oh, that was such a polite clap. That's like the Masters. That was like a golf clap, like right on brand from the weekend.
I don't know why it sounds so soft, but yes, that was like the golf clap there. All right, so that's exciting. We have to let us know how it goes next week, and then we can review, see how everything went.
I will. Amani, I have a quick question for you. Did you see Mariah Carey's she had a little thing happen this weekend in Las Vegas. Did you see the news on this? I was thinking about you.
No, what happened? You should have sent that to me immediately. What happened?
Well, I saw it and I was like, oh, surely Amani's all over this. No, there was something where she was performing on stage in Las Vegas as she's been doing. She's been at the Coliseum at Caesars. Is that where you saw her?
Oh, she's at Park MGM. She's at the Dolby Theater there. Yeah.
Okay, so something happened, and listeners and watchers, if you know, slide into our DMs and let us know. Something went awry in her performance that seemed out of turn or out of style for her. So I thought you might have had the tea on that. You're such a Mariah Carey fan.
But I will do some research and figure out what happened.
All right, that's good. Yeah. Okay, last question. What's happening in your world this weekend, coming up this week? Because when I'm in Ohio, our time zones are conflicting. We're not talking as much during the week. I don't want to bother you at 4 a.m. when it's too early for
Never
you.
bother. This week, so let me think here. So this week's a little slower. So I've got these 2 big projects to grade. March was an extremely busy month, so I'm still kind of recovering from that. I will say that tomorrow during my 7 o'clock class is one of my favorite days of the semester because it's the Artist Way Day. So I take the students through some of the activities of the Artist Way. I give away prizes. Like I give 2 copies of the Artist Way. I give 2 copies of my book. So I'm really looking forward to that at my 7 p.m. class. That's going to be a highlight.
Wait, can you tell everybody what the Artist Way is? I know what it is, but can you tell everybody what it is?
So the Artist Way is a book by Julia Cameron. She wrote it really to help people become unstuck, unlock their creativity. It's a fascinating book. It's a classic. There's 12 chapters. You can go through the chapter a week, do the exercises. It's really, really a lot of fun. It really helps open up the creativity. I love it. I've gone through it now 2 or 3 times. I recommend going through it with a friend, a colleague. And so I'm just trying to emphasize to the students to remember some of the things they love now and they have loved as a child as they go out into the working world, because most of these students are graduating in a month. So I just want them not to forget some things they love as they continue to kind of get with the grind of working a 9 to 5.
I love that. The first time I read The Artist's Way, I saw a psychic and he told me, go buy Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. I had never heard of it.
Wow.
And I bought the workbook and I went through it. This was when it first came out, 20 years ago, however long ago it was. And in each phase of my life, of different jobs or different situations, I've done it again, and it's different in different phases of your life. So yeah, the artist way is very poignant, and it ages very well. I'm so glad you're
Ages.
doing that with your students.
Yes. So
Cool.
that's probably the highlight of the week. And besides that, pretty chill. I mean, it's been pretty quiet because it's been very busy this week. I think that actually should get the copy of the magazine that I'm on the cover of this week, so I'm waiting for that.
Gosh, you're so
And
fancy. You're so fancy.
yes, yeah. So but that's it. I'll keep everyone posted. Now, thank you for asking. Why don't we talk about our returning guest?
We have a repeat performer here. And speaking of somebody who has excelled in so many phases of her life, she's a serial entrepreneur. She's a leader in the health and wellness space. She's an author. She's one of the original bloggers and original influencers before influencers was even a word. I mean, she was doing this in like 2007, 2008, 2009. And now she's joining us with her brand new endeavor called Twine, which she's a founder of. It's a community for women in business to find a clear path to creative freedom, financial success, and personal growth. Teresa, please join us again.
Yes, we're gonna give you another round of applause. Round of applause here. Hopefully you could hear it. Yes, there you go. So that's the applause there.
Well, I just want to leave now because that felt so good. Like, I think my work here is done, Mandi. I think you've covered it.
The work is not
No,
done.
we're just getting started.
Oh, that's so lovely. I so appreciate that. That was really sweet.
Aw.
Mandi, why don't you start us off because there's so many questions to ask. I have a nice little set of some questions too, but I want to let you start this time.
Teresa, I want to ask you, what is Twine? What is Twine? Why do we need this?
Okay, so there's a short answer. Like, I could say it's a community for women by women in business, because and it's an event-powered, event-based marketing engine for women in business to connect them with conscious consumers who can benefit from their expertise. So I'm really trying to create, so it's like a two-part community. So yes, there's the core community, and the target is a passion-based business owner who's working out there either as a solopreneur or a micro business owner and wearing many, many, many hats. And so that's the core community, but we have a larger community because part of the beauty of being a woman in business is that, yes, you want other businesswomen friends, but you want more customers too. And you have such a level of expertise in what you're doing that you are so passionate about it that you have foregone a W-2 paycheck and benefits, and you are working independently to bring your expertise. And I want to help make it easier for those women to find their target customers too. So it's a two-part community. So essentially for women by women in business through very fun, impactful, and intentional experiences. Does that make sense?
And I like
that makes sense.
Go for it,
So,
Amani. Yeah, it's
Mandi,
great.
before you continue, Teresa, if you could move your camera up just a little bit because we got the top of your head being there. We go, perfect. We don't want the top of your head being cut off. So
No,
good.
I don't like it when the top of my head's cut off.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay.
there we go. Okay, good, perfect. Mandi, continue.
Well, I want to hang here at Twine because you share a story, and the World Health Organization declared loneliness as an epidemic last year. And as we know, Amani's an entrepreneur, and I'm an entrepreneur. You're a serial entrepreneur. It can be super lonely, and you talk a lot about needing community and how lonely it can feel as an entrepreneur. Can you expand on that and how Twine participates in solving some of that epidemic?
When you said it in my bio that like my expertise in entrepreneurialism and even when I had my corporate career has been in wellness. So I worked 15 years in corporate weight loss. I wrote a healthy cocktail book. I started the blog and I wrote a bunch of recipes. I owned a meal prep company. So I've been in the health and wellness space as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, small business owner for over a decade. And then I took a little job. I thought I would take a little rest from being the business owner and see what it felt like to be an employee. It turns out I'm not the best employee. And then I don't have that job anymore. And it was like, well, I want to go back into, I'm going to build something else. I just assumed I'd get back into health and wellness. Like, oh, I have the space. I could write a cookbook now. I could take the Clean and Colorful Kitchen and turn it into an online program. Like, there's a lot of things. But it wasn't really what was calling me. And what was calling me is that if I think back on the two businesses that I created and managed, and they were both profitable and they were both impactful, but neither one of them is with me today, and neither one of them is in operation today. And that kind of just is rooted in the pains of a solopreneur and a small business owner, is that I loved what I was doing. I loved my customers. But I ended up feeling really disconnected. And when my business sort of stalled in both spaces, whether they were both in the same industry, but very different businesses, they stalled, and I didn't have a space to go to. I didn't have my own board of directors. I didn't have my own marketing team. I didn't have my own, my HR. I didn't have that built-in support that you have. I didn't have a boss to go to. Like, oh, I'm struggling with this situation. Can you help me work me through this? So I just, I just abandoned both businesses. I mean, they went on, like, the blog I did actually sell, and then I did sell parts of the kitchen. So there was little like remnants of it. But at the end of the day, both of those businesses were important. They did matter. They were making a difference, and neither one of them exists today. And that's because me as the business owner was burnt out and just a little disillusioned on how to move forward. So it seemed easier to not. So when I came time to build another business, I was like, I feel like there's space. And I think about I went to a lot of really great networking events. And I met a lot of great business women, but there was nothing that I could go to on a very regular basis that I really felt would have my back and help me work and improve and grow as a business owner, but also grow my business. So I thought, why don't I try to fill that space? So that, I think I said something where I was just calling it kind of like a third space for a business owner. Because as a business owner, you have your business, and then you have, your family. And then where's another area that you can go to that will provide the support that you need, so you're not always draining your family? Because when you're the boss, you can't drain your employee. Like, so where could you be refueled so that you sort of had a little bit more balance in your life? And that's what I'm trying. And how could we help these women who have these incredible businesses that are so can make such a big difference in people's lives if we could just help more people find them easier? And so that's really what I'm trying to do with Twine, is to do it in real life, because we live in this other thing that became very clear to me is that, we live in this world where you can do this all day, and you can feel semi-connected through social media. You can order your groceries, they'll drop it off at the door. You don't even have to see the person. You can, Google Maps will tell you how to get anywhere you need to go. You could easily go a week without actually engaging with another person if you didn't want to. And you could still have all of your basic needs met. You still have your groceries, you still get to go where you need to go. But there's absolutely nothing that technology there's no way that it can replace the magic of human connection and the energy that you feel when you're in a high vibration with people like you, and you guys are sharing ideas and you're exchanging information. And that's a physical energy, that's a vibration that can't be transferred through technology. And so that's why I feel really passionate about, yes, there'll be an online component to Twine because it's convenient, but the core of my mission is to bring women together in real life so that we get that energy and that buzz, so that when you leave an event, you're fired up, and then it lasts just long enough to the next event. So you can keep the kindling in that fire and keep it burning, so that you don't just have this boost of motivation because you went to this great quarterly event and now there's no way to follow up with those women, or there's no way to meet those customers again. But we'll just have this sort of regular, slow burning fire so that people stay motivated and connected. That's my goal.
I love it.
So why start the business now? What was it about right now that caused you to have the time to say, let's get it going. Let's start it right now.
I got married last year, and my husband's lovely, and he's been very, very supportive. So in my prior businesses, because this is tough. This is community, right? So I'm going to have to build a community from scratch, and it's not I would think that it's not the easiest thing to do. You can't sell community, you don't have a community. So this business at this point in time in this phase one isn't really a revenue generating business. And that in my life isn't something that I've had the flexibility or the affordability to actually do. But I have a moment in my life right now where I do. My husband said, quit your job, just find something that means something to you. So I feel incredibly fortunate that I have the time and the resources and the space to create something that I do think is really necessary and really needed. And I do believe it is actually capable of being a real business. It's just going to take some time to get it, to build the value into it so that we can really grow it. So that's kind of why it's here now, is that I have like the lifestyle to in the space in my life right now to put so much energy into creating these connections and these experiences so that there is value in this business and that it is sustainable and scalable.
And then what was the process behind selecting the name?
Twine. Okay, well, first off, I do love an acronym. So it is actually an acronym. It's Together Women Inspire Networking and Events.
Okay.
But then when you start to like really work around twine, like, and you start to really think about it, and if you like research the symbolism of twine, it's like biblical. Like it goes like twine is really about tying things together and uniting frayed things and bringing them together and holding them closer together. It's also twine, if you look at how it's made, is like all these little tiny fibers become so strong when you put them together. So it's an acronym, which I love. But really from a symbolic standpoint, twine really represents binding things together, but also taking independent resources and making them stronger as a more cohesive unit.
Interesting. And then because Mandy mentioned this earlier, and you're doing a great service to kind of solve this, why do you think loneliness is such a really big epidemic currently?
Well, because I think technology really lends to it. It creates this false sense of connection, but it doesn't give you that vibration that you have when you actually meet with real people. So I think that technology, it's a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways, right? Like definitely makes life easier, but it is also enabling the isolation, because we don't actually have to connect with people the way we used to have to connect with people. And I think if we don't really proactively, fight's kind of a strong word, but really fight to protect this human connection over the next couple of decades or century, it will erode. And then we will end up in this strange space where people are operating independently and not collaboratively. And collaboration is magic. Like, and it's something that really only happens when you have like-minded people in the same space and engaging in a shared experience. And we have to work to make that happen more now than we used to, because we don't have to engage if we don't want to. It's a choice now instead of an obligation, I think. And not everybody chooses to do it. It's harder. I'll do it all the time. I'll be like, oh, I signed up for this event. I don't really want to go. It sounds like such a good idea. And the time I have to put on my pants and and then you leave.
Put your chonies on. You have to put your chonies on.
And there are so few times that once you put your chonies on and you go and you engage and you do that you don't leave feeling a million times better than you did before you got there. And like, I'm just and that was the job that I had in between when I closed my last business and when I decided to start Twine, is that I was the community and the event director at California's largest pickleball club. And we opened here in San Diego, and then we opened up 2 in Northern California. And I got to sort of pick what I wanted to do there. And I called myself the director of player engagement and community. And it was, and even though I'm a terrible pickleball player, I loved seeing these people that didn't know each other come together over this shared sport and get outside of whatever mood they were in, bang a little ball around with this giant paddle for an hour or so, and then leave feeling fantastic. Like the energy in the clubhouse when the people are leaving is, they can't be replaced. So when I left that job, I wanted to recreate that, but in an area that I am better at, and that is women in business versus pickleball. I go to pickleball.
Well, I want to hang here now that we're talking about community, because you have said before, building community can be a form of marketing. So Why do you think that is so impactful?
Well, I think in this, like specifically to Twine, I think it's because when I'm working with these passion-based business owners, like the women that are deeply connected to their work, that I feel like when you meet that business owner, like through community, that just makes it easier to understand the business and the value of their business. So I think that these types of events is what I called it event-based marketing. Because if you can create an experience for somebody around your product, then you have could very well, and it's a good match. You'll have a client for life. And so I want to ask and sort of challenge women, even if you don't have a typical experience-based business, to think about how you can position your product to create an experience for somebody, and then you bring people into your thing. You can create a community around your product to really create that consumer connection. And so a good example is like a florist. Like you don't think about a florist really being, it's a small business, it's definitely passion-based business. There's an artist behind putting all of these beautiful flowers together for a bazillion different types of events. But it can be an experience-based business if that florist decides to hold let's make Thanksgiving table arrangements or Mother's Day arrangements or whatnot. And she invites a dozen women into her flower shop just as a fun experience. And like 12 ladies get together and they leave with their beautiful bouquets. And now 12 more women are emotionally connected to that florist. So when they need condolence flowers, graduation flowers, happy birthday flowers, they're connected to her now. So I think does that answer your question? Is that what?
Yeah. I think building community as a form of marketing is so important. And I think what you're doing is really important. But I think as business owners, we all get lost in the shuffle of whether it's an administrative challenge we're having in the business or sales in the business. We forget about these unique forms of marketing that aren't really that unique. They just face-to-face interaction has been around on the test of time.
Oh, gee.
And getting 12 people in a room to create centerpieces together is this lasting memory conversation that does draw you. So I'd love to hear that you're going to do that. I've one more follow-up about the event piece of this. So I think this event powered organization is a little bit different than if we think about like Chief or Swirl or these other things that are out there that connect professional women. So what made you create this event powered part of the business?
I think a lot of it. So I always kind of wondered why I took that job, because it was a little bit weird that I closed my company and went to go work at a pickleball club. And it was because I witnessed firsthand a year and a half the magic and the power behind bringing human beings together and the energy that's exchanged between people. And also just long time knowing from branding and marketing and whatnot, that when you can emotionally attach somebody to your product through an experience, then you'll have a customer for life. So if we could create this calendar of like all these rad women who have all these really interesting and unique businesses, and then like, so as a woman, you're like, oh, I have a girlfriend coming into town. I want to do something fun like this. And then you could get into the Twine calendar and go, oh, we're having a cocktail. I have a healthy cocktail making class on the Twine calendar. I'm going to register me and Jennifer, and we're going to go there and learn how to make healthy cocktails. Or we've got a lip balm making class. Julie owns Quintessentials, and she's putting on a lip balm making class. So you could go, Julie will teach you the benefits of the clean ingredients that she's using in the product. Or you should leave with your own custom lip balm when you're done with that event. So and then you know about Julie's awesome business. She's got 20 years of experience in herbology, and she's got this amazing product line of essential oils. And now we can help connect more people to that product line through a really fun experience. I think it's fun. I like putting people together. I love putting people in the same room, and I love telling stories, and I love laughing, and I love just the information and the energy exchange of bringing people together. And I like challenging women to look at their businesses a little bit differently too. Like, how can you transform your business into an event so that you can have that emotional connection with your client before they're even your client? So that's what we're working on.
It's awesome.
Interesting. Now, how do you plan on balancing the mobile app aspect with the in-person events? How are you going to find a healthy balance?
Well, we'll see how it evolves too. So I wish I had a crystal ball and I knew how this was going to evolve and where people were going to find the most value. And to be honest, I didn't anticipate having a very robust online portal. I really did plan on just having sort of an event calendar that people could register for and sign up for subscriptions through. I ended up finding a platform that I think is pretty rad, and it is for online communities. So it has just it's like a private Facebook essentially. So you can join the community, and I can have these different levels of conversations that people can still get the benefit of being connected through technology, because we all know it's very easy to do. But it should be the tool that then makes it also easier to engage in real life. But we can have all these different, like I can have an opportunities board, and I can have a referral board, and I can have all these spaces where people go into, and that'd be for the whole supporter community. So say I'm just a consumer, I love the facial that I got from such and such, I can go in, I can write a review for her. Everybody in that community can see that. Oh my gosh, I want to try her. But then we can also restrict different little laws. So like if you're a business owner, then you have your business owner, you're in this creator space, and then you have your 24/7, like, oh my God, I'm dealing with this. Does anybody have any experience with this space? And you can get feedback in real time through the community and the app as well. So I anticipate that they'll be good counterparts to each other. I also think, even though I'm trying so hard to get people together in real life, there will be people who will prefer the events and they won't even look at the app other than registering. And then there'll be people who are asking a lot of questions in the app and they're not going to come to events. So that's just the nature of the way people behave. But as long as we can tie them together and as long as we're creating those connections, then I think we're doing a good thing.
And then what's the plan on like increasing and spreading the word and marketing and kind of growing your user base?
Yeah, it's community through community.
Amani's going hard hitting here.
I know.
I love it. I'm learning. I love it. We're just getting started. The thing that's really fun about it is that women like women, and they like hearing about businesses. So I'm very much just getting started. Our first event is coming up this week. Like the community, I just opened the community. There's like a couple dozen women in there. Like it's brand new, and I'm still working through a lot of my messaging and whatnot. But what's really fun is when I start telling somebody part of it, somebody will stop and listen and ask about it, right? Because there's like, well, and there are a bazillion women in the business things you could join. But I think there is something unique about Twine because we are really pulling together women in general, but also connecting them to really rad women-owned businesses. And women want to support women. Generally, that's sort of inherent. And so to create a platform and a space where it's easier to do that, and it's just all going to be community through community. So I reach out to my community, they share, we're going to use technology to spread through social media, and I've got a nice little presence on LinkedIn now. I'll get out on as many of these podcasts and chat about the mission and the movement of really bringing people back together in real life to support each other. The messaging is just really collaboration over competition. Like it's just all this really good vibe. So we're just going to it's just going to take time. I mean, maybe I buy ads. I don't know. Maybe it just spreads because it's so rad. People want to invite their friends. I am focused in San Diego right now as just really a pod here in Southern California to bring women together here. And then I'll see how it goes and how we grow. And I would love to have chapters and I'd love to see it spread, but we'll just see what we can do here in San Diego. Nice. Back to you, Mandi.
Well, you've been doing feature founder interviews. What are these and what are you learning from them?
Oh my God, the feature founder interviews are so much fun. So that's the same, it kind of answers Amani's question a little bit too. It's like, how are you getting the message out there? I'm like, I'm going to do some feature founder interviews, which I have done a handful of them and they're on the website. I haven't posted them. I haven't really shared them. I haven't put them out there yet, but that's going to come this week. I'm finally ready to get it all out there. But I have had the most fun. So I reach out to women who I know own a business and I'm going to do a feature founder interview. And I ask nothing too technical, just, what made you want to start your business? Like, what are the best things about owning your own business? What's the hardest thing about owning your own business? Where do you get your emotional support from? Who picks you up when you're feeling down? There's these types of questions. It's really been really fun. And all the interviews that I've done so far are all with people that I already knew, but I didn't know so much about their businesses because women are also fairly modest. And some of these businesses blew my mind when I sat down and heard the scale and of the magnitude of really what's being accomplished through their business. And the other thing that I'm learning, which I find interesting, is that, I mean, I don't know, but I guess it makes sense, but like not everybody has the same motivation. Like when I ask, what's your favorite thing about being a business owner? Not everybody says flexibility. Like other people like say there's a different reason, or flexibility means something different to every business owner. Like, so flexibility actually comes up in almost every interview, but what that means to the business owner is different. So sometimes it's in schedules, sometimes it's in the quality of the work that they're doing. My favorite was with my family and marriage therapist, that she's on there, and she goes, I love the flexibility of how stressed out I'm going to be. Like I love, like, I don't have to, like, I don't have to take on that stress. Like, so for her, it meant something completely different than for me. I like the flexibility of being able to work out and go to boot camp and yoga in the morning, and I don't have to sit down with my hair done until noon. Like that is flexibility to me. It's different. Like it's just different for everybody. Everybody's motivation is different. Where they're pulling support from is different. What they're looking for, how they're growing their businesses, how they're scaling their businesses. I have fortunate enough to know some women that are like, I'm tapped out. Like I'm good. This is a lifestyle business and I'm running it the best I can. I'm not, you know. And then you have some women that are just in the early stages of bringing on more practitioners and building their brand through employees. Like, so there's just a lot of different really cool stuff going on out there. And I have a goal to do 100 of these interviews. And so I'm just chipping away at that. And I am starting to get down the format well enough to where I am going to start reaching out to women I don't know, which will be really interesting. And then really learning even more about what's going on there for these solopreneurs, micro businesses. So it's a different beast, these little businesses.
I love that you're doing these interviews, just interviewing 100 people. You're going to learn something. That's just a masterclass in itself. And then sharing that with your community is so valuable too. I love that. So I want to extend that to the people that are watching live or listening live. If you have a question or a comment, please pop it in the chat. Or if you have a founder that Teresa should interview, put the name in the chat. And if you are listening, maybe you're listening after the fact, DM us at Adventures of Business Live. Let us know, or go to Twine Together, go to twinetogether.com, the website, and send Teresa a name of a founder that she might interview. It sounds like she's kind of open for business, listening to new people, and I'm always curious to see how that goes. So
I know
you mentioned support, you mentioned emotional support. And I think as business owners, this is something we don't stay curious enough about, right? Like we shoulder the burden of it all the time on our own. And when you first started Twine, you did something that I think is fantastic. You created a board of directors. So can you share why you did that and why everybody, not just business owners, but individuals should either have a personal board of directors, or as a company, you should have a board of directors? Because I think when we think of board of directors, we think of like, the JP Morgans of the world and their boards, but we don't think of it on a smaller scale and on what that value could be.
I knew that because this, or I had a hunch, and I still believe that because this is community driven, I'm going to need, and I've had experience building 2 businesses in the past, and I knew where I fell short in the past, and so it feels almost essential. Like I can't build a community of the most impactful and inspiring and dynamic and women by myself. Like that's the exact opposite of what community is. So to build this business, and it does feel weird to ask, to blatantly ask, like, will you help me with this? Will you donate your time to this mission and your energy and your expertise to helping me build something that I think will make a big difference to a lot of women? So it was a little uncomfortable, and I hadn't done it in the past, but to get the yeses from the 3 most incredible women, and like exuberant, like excited yeses from 3 incredible women with just these careers that I have been in awe of for the decade plus that I've known all of them, gave me that little bit of like emotional support that I was like, okay, I can do this. Because if these women are going to say yes, and they're going to share their time and their insight and their energy, then there's value here. We're doing something important. Like they wouldn't say yes for no reason. And so yeah, I have a great board of directors. Mandy's on the board. I feel very, very fortunate because also like for so many reasons, but also because one of the visions is retreats and conferences and getting people out of their offices and together in other areas. And nobody knows more about that than Mandy. And then I have Liberty, who's I've known forever. Huge background in franchising, and she's here in San Diego. And then my friend Kelly, who is a branding superstar. She's behind the Loud Blonde brand, and had actually helped me with the kitchen quite a bit in the early days of the kitchen too, defining what that brand was going to look like. So she's just a wealth of expertise. So I feel really supported, and I feel, and I, it's like, you know, it's tough to build things alone, and I didn't want to do that again. So I asked for help.
I'm glad you asked. We don't ask for help enough. I'm glad you asked. And then I'm glad that when you do get everybody together, you'll take action on it. And you know that you're going to get feedback that's good, bad, or ugly, but you'll take action on it. I think that's really, really important. I think it's a lesson for all of us to accept feedback as a gift and to ask for help.
Ask for help. Yeah, I've tried a lot of times to assume, and I even have done it a little bit here with this business, like assuming that, oh, I know the problem and I have the answer and I'll just do that. Like, and it's just not the way this company is going to grow. Like, because the value proposition is just a little bit different than a healthy recipe or, you know, a ready to go lunch. Like it's a little bit different. So I'm trying, me as a founder, to be a little bit more flexible with this offering, and really learning from the community as we build it, like where the value will be and how they want to engage with it, and how it yields the largest benefit for everybody. Which is that's not the way I've operated in the past. I've been very like, this is what I'm doing and this is how we're going to do it. And so this is more like, well, I'm going to get these women together and see what happens. But I know that magic happens when you get amazing women together. So I'm very excited to watch the magic unfold.
Interesting. So I'm curious, like, what have maybe been the 2 or 3 most common lessons you've learned from your previous work that you've applied to starting this venture?
Yeah, well, that it kind of goes right on with what Andy just said, is that I suffer terribly from the I can do everything better than you. So I have a really hard time asking for help. I have a really hard time hiring other experts. I have a really hard time just because I feel like I have to learn everything the hard way. It's just part of my tedious personality. But I am hoping now that, 25 years of being in business, that I have learned to set back and just be more flexible with what this business is going to look like and how it's going to work, and asking for help, and just sort of lowering my expectations, and remembering that patience and consistency pay off in the end in all spaces. So I just need to focus on being more patient and more consistent, because I have to continue to stay focused and believing that this is going to matter, and it's going to make a difference to a lot of women, and it's going to help, hopefully and ideally, fuel them with the energy to run their businesses until they're ready to exit, because they want to, not because they have to. And that's important work. And just staying really focused on the value of what we're doing versus the end result of how it's shaped. Because I'm just a numbers person, and I'm just like, oh, well, I wanted to have, this many clients by this time, and I don't, so it must not be working. And now I'm going to quit. Mm-hmm. And so, and not doing that this time, and staying focused on the value that we're delivering through the experiences that we're creating, and listening to feedback and reacting intentionally, so that we can drive the biggest impact.
All right. We have a question from Kelly, who's watching us. She says, what advice do you have for young women just getting started in their career?
Oh, I love that question. I think it kind of goes to, burnout is a thing. It's really easy to get burnout and disillusioned. So you have so much power in your And if you're working in your strengths and you're working in a space that you feel like it really matters, you get that strength is magnified. So if you're just getting started in your career, and it might sound Pollyanna positive, and it is sort of the way I operate, but you just find something that you love and that you understand the value of what you're delivering through it, because then you can stay in it for the long haul. Another thing I've always thought about with my jobs and in the past and my companies and whatnot is, like, I always look at things like in a triangle. So, and how you're like, how they balance out. So like what you're doing either has to be really important and you feel really good about the mission behind what you're doing. It should be really fun, bring you a lot of joy, or it should pay really well. And if you're not hitting one of those categories, and some people will argue with me that the pay doesn't even matter. Like, you can be paid millions of dollars, but if you hate what you're doing, it's soul sucking. It's actually not worth the money. I've continued to work so much in the joy space and the value space that I haven't really been on the high pay side of what it feels like to earn $500,000 and be miserable. Because I've always been so purpose driven in what I've done. But I'd say always look at those things, because it's tough to get them all. It's not impossible, but it is tough to be paid $500,000 to be doing something that's really important, really matters, and it's really fun. But make sure that some of those needs are being met. But most importantly, that you are in alignment as a human. Like, understand what you need out of your job, out of your career, your third space, what you're doing with that energy in a professional setting, understanding yourself and aligning that with the job for the long haul. I don't know if that answered the question. It's sort of a lot of information.
Great answer. Yeah. So now we get round two for you. When I say round two, is that previously when you were a guest, you got to ask both Mandy and myself a question. So now you get round two where you can ask us both different questions, and nothing is off limits. So who do you want to ask the first question to, and what is said question?
Okay, I actually did think about this, because I know how in the biz you both are, and so here I am trying to build this. I'm sensitive to the word networking, because I feel like the word networking has this like I'm in a business card, like slicked hair, like shiny shoes, like it just has this vibe but it's also an important part of building community, right? It's making connections. So I'll ask Mandi first. It's going to be like two ends of the same kind of question, but Mandi, tell me about your worst networking experience, and what made it the worst? Was it in the environment? Was it whatever? Just tell me about it. Tell me whatever you want to tell me about. The craziest networking.
The first thing that comes to mind was more than 20 years ago. And, in my early 20s when I networked, which we all did, we drank too much. We said things we didn't mean. We said things we didn't know we said. Years later, people were like, remember that time I saw you at the Aerospace Museum? I'm like, I have no memory of that. So I would say this was a network event I was at, and I probably had more drinks than I should have. And I was eating sushi with chopsticks, and a guy approached me. And he was eating sushi with his hands. That should have been my first red flag. And he introduced himself. We started chit-chatting, and I was a little tipsy. I'm like, oh, he's kind of cute. And we're flirting back and forth, and he invited me on a date. And so a week later, I said yes to the date, and he was going to pick me up for the date. And then I decided that day I didn't want to go. I was 25 years old. I'm like, I'd rather go out with my girlfriends. I didn't say that, but I just decided I didn't want to go. And so I called him, because we had voice message machines, I didn't text him. There's no texting. And I left a answering machine message for him saying, hey, thank you so much. I don't want to go on the date. But let's try again some other time. This guy called me 17 times over and over and over again. And each message got scarier and scarier and scarier. And he swore at me. He said nobody cancels a date on him. He said he was going to punish me, all this stuff. I was so scared. that I taught my landlord, which was the only father figure I had in San Diego at the time, because I was 3,000 miles away from home. My landlord had me call the police, and the police put a tap on my phone, and the police said, when he calls back, you have to say these exact words. You have to say, name, I'm not going to say his name, name, you are scaring me, please do not call me again. And I said those exact words, and he kept swearing and swearing and swearing at me, and I hung up on him. Then the police called him and then said, if you call her again, your business will be in jeopardy. And that made him stop, which was great. But then years later, I was at a trade show, and I was standing in the booth, and he stood outside the booth staring at me as people were walking. He didn't approach me. He didn't talk to me. He just stared at me. And I was like, this is the worst, the best lesson in networking. Do not drink too much. Do not flirt. Be professional. Do not go on dates. And that was like such a lesson. That was the worst networking thing I'd ever done in my life. It was a bad experience. Yeah, stalkers. I had a stalker. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. That definitely goes to the cringy networking.
Never say yes to a guy that eats sushi with his hands. Is probably the biggest lesson of them all.
Jeez, some years ago too. Okay, well, the other side of that coin then, and I say that one for money, is of all of the events that you've been to, and you're looking at, building your community, what is the best experience that you have had, and how did that come to be? What was the type of event? What was the contact that you made, or the contacts that you made, or what was really the best networking event you've been to?
So I have a couple I'll kind of combine. Like, I think first they had name tags there, which you take for granted nowadays, but don't take that for granted, because some network events don't have name tags, and that just kind of baffles me. Then they had this really cool activity where it was like a people scavenger hunt, where they gave you like this little list, and you're trying to find the different people, like find someone who's like a Cleveland Browns fan, or find someone who's lived in like New York City. And so it kind of forced you, because there's prizes to earn once you do that, and there's different like little Easter eggs and stuff. And so this was fun. And then they had like they had alcohol there, but they really were focused on like mocktails. So it was like non-alcoholic drinks or whatever. They had good food there, like enough food that you weren't gonna eat a full meal, but it didn't overshadow the event. And then it was just fun. Like the people that were there connected everyone. Like I said, oh, this is what you're looking for. I know you should meet this person, or oh, you're from the East Coast. This person's from the East Coast. So they connected people and made it really easy to talk and network. And it was fun. And we were like playing games and stuff. So it was less about like the act of networking. You were just kind of playing games with some new friends or whatever. And so
I love that.
Yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind for my favorite networking event.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, and it makes me feel better too. So I will do a shameless plug for our first event is coming up this Thursday, and it's at my little co-working space. And I am going to have, it's an unwind happy hour because it's Twine. And I am going to have some wine, but I also got 2-gallon like little pitcher things, so I can put like a tea and like a lemon rosemary water. But I was going to make these little Twine cards, and I was going to do like a Twine scavenger hunt, like find somebody that, and then I think I'm going to leave it way open-ended though. Like find somebody that represents tea for some reason. Is that because their name starts with a T? Is it because their business starts with a T? Whatever. And fill out your little like Twine bingo card and turn it in. And Easter eggs, actually Easter's this weekend too. So I could do Easter egg lottery tickets, or I don't know. So there is some sort of little prize just to get people to chat if they do need a little extra help. And that is also true about the community. So if I had to share my worst networking experience, I was younger, and I showed up at like an event with probably 150 like realtors and insurance agents, and it was just like so overwhelming that I didn't know who to talk to or who I would ask any questions to. So yeah, like Mandi, I probably drank like 4 glasses of wine and went home drunk, but like I don't think I talked to anybody that wasn't like one of my friends, because I didn't know how to. So having somebody there that understands while you're there, and to help you make those connections. So those are things I am planning on doing. So nice. Hopefully
we should do a networking. I'll do this as one of my event things if you want, expert networking networking in front and behind the screen. We could talk about circle crashing and all that fun stuff. That'd be fun.
Oh, that does sound like fun. I don't know what any of that is,
Yeah,
but yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
here's the irony of building this business is that I have been in a lot of communities for women entrepreneurs, but I haven't been to a ton of networking events because I had such a terrible time when I went, and like that, and maybe not everybody has that weird thing around networking that I do, but like I hear networking and I'm like, it's just a bunch of cheesy people trying to sell each other stuff, and that is absolutely not what I'm trying to do with Twine. Like, yes, I want to help women grow their businesses, but through authentic experiences and meaningful impact, like important things that matter, because we do need to connect and community does matter. And we do that through networking events, but I want it to be anything but what I experienced when I was in my 20s and my early 30s. And so I'm hoping to be able to do that successfully. So I'm going to ask everybody I know from now on their best experience and their worst experience at networking events to make sure that we do them right.
Yeah.
That's a good social media poll or a good question to ask. Like the answers alone that you get might be, or like one word you think of when you think of the word networking. That could just be fun to see the responses, right?
That is actually a good idea. I shall put it out there. We shall see. Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited though. So we'll do these little happy hours, and then on the flip side, because we're dealing with women business owners, we'll have a monthly meeting and in the morning as well. So it'll be a coffee meeting. And then when we get enough people up and interested, we'll run a book club, and then we'll do a speaker series. And so those will be the events that'll be Twine hosted, and those will be a regular part of what the Twine offering is. And then when we get there, we have memberships. You'll be able to engage in those events as a part of your membership. For now, everything's just open to everybody. So it's just getting the right vibe together. And then the larger part of the calendar will be the creator events. So if Mandi will do her networking behind the screen, and like just really finding these neat businesses and putting more events on the calendar to get people together to understand and experience. So it should be a pretty robust calendar. Actually, have you looked, it's actually very cute. It's off right now. So you can go to twineco.com, click on events, click on scheduled events, and it's got the happy hours and the coffee meetings, and then the few creator events. We have a pickleball event coming up on the 24th. So there's a lot of just fun stuff going on.
I want to switch gears. I want to switch gears for one quick second, and I want to do a life review with you. So I want to say a name of one of the businesses that you either owned or worked for, and I want to hear the first word that comes to mind. So it's a quick flash session. Okay, you ready? Jenny Craig.
Oh, well, the first word was weight loss. It's very technical, right? That's just the way I think. But I get impact, inspirational. Jenny Craig's rad. That woman, like, she created an empire, and she changed a lot of lives, and not just for her customers, but for her employees. Like, I worked for that company for 13 years. I learned so much, even though it was the one corporate job I had. To this day, my operations brain came from what I learned there. My training hat came from what I learned there. My sales hat came from what I learned there. Like, I learned so much working for Jenny Craig, and I met so many amazing women. And I spent the last 6 years of my career there as a business consultant to the franchisees. So I got a lot of my business, like my small business management came from there too. Like, unfortunately, that brand went under in a very dark and dirty way, which is a bit of a bummer, but it went down, I think, about 10 years after I left. But what it did during its heyday is remarkable. And she sold it for like $138 million, retained 20% equity in it, and then turned around and sold it again for $600 million. So she not only she did it. She did all three things. She had a lot of fun, make a big impact, she made a ton of money. So I think Jenny Craig is massive, massive inspiration if you look at that story.
I love that. That's a great quick hit. Okay, Skinny Teeny book, your first book.
Oh, Skinny Teeny, that is the very first ever low-calorie cocktail book that was ever published. I beat Bethany to Amazon. I was on there first. Unfortunately I didn't exit for $115 million like she did with Skinny Girl Margarita. I think Skinny Girl was her brand. But I beat her there. It was the first one. So it was the first low-calorie cocktail book, which is also, I'm in my Twine event calendar as a creator too. But my expertise is in healthy recipes, whether it be food, smoothies, or cocktails. And so the first one I'm hosting, and I'm actually hosting it with Nat Susi, who, do you know Natalie? She
I do.
owned a look.
Yeah.
Like, we met because when I was peddling Skinny Teeny books, she was peddling Bear Mixers, which was an all natural organic cocktail mixer. So we used to do these ridiculous videos back together. We used to film them with this big camera. Like, it's so silly. And so we did one 10 years ago. So when I put this event on the calendar, I asked her to co-host it with me. So we're going to host that on, here's Mr. Belvedere. He's a very big part of my life too. We're going to host that together on May 7th. So it's a Mother's Day skinny cocktail class, which should be hilarious. So that's my skinny story.
The band's back together. Okay, Clean and Colorful Kitchen.
Clean and Colorful, that comes like that to me is work. I hear that name and I get tired. Like, it was so much work. It was so much work. And there wasn't a single person when I said I was going to start that business that I was going to retire my online digital health coaching blog, which I got to do from the convenience of my own home, sans pants, right? And then I was going to go into getting a commercial kitchen. I was going to hire employees. I had to hire delivery drivers. I had to work with vegetable, like it was, and there was absolutely nobody who's like, that sounds easy. You should do that. Like, every single person was like, are you crazy? And I was like, yes. And I had just turned 40 and I thought I was going to crack the code on the decentralization of food production. And I was going to teach women how to create food and for their communities and earn a living at the same time. What happens is that it's just so much work. It's just, like, we were processing hundreds and hundreds of pounds of vegetables every single weekend. And our food was really fresh because we were doing it in the weekend. So I was collecting orders on Friday. I was getting all of my supplies, which was hundreds of cases and cases of vegetables because we were a plant-forward meal prep company. And then I'd had a team of 8 or 9 people that would come together every weekend, and we would crank out 500 meals and we would deliver them all over San Diego. And it was beautiful. The food was great. I loved having it. Our customers loved having it. We had our attrition numbers were really low. Our customers were really happy. We had, 80 something 5-star Yelp reviews. Just like, it was a really beautiful business, but it was so hard. It was so hard. Like, it was so hard. And so I'm proud of that business. I really did build it from scratch, and we really did have a sustainable, impactful business. It was just, and I'm clumsy and I moved too fast. So I was like burning myself and cutting myself and like bumping, like I was physically maiming my body. And I think the last burn, I was like, that's it. I can't do it. I can't keep doing this. I'm too old for this. So that's the end of the case.
All right. Okay. Last one of the flash fire. First word that comes to your mind with selling your brand, because you've done this a couple times. And has it been lucrative or not, that's fine. But selling your brand is something people talk about. And, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you sold your blog, sold your website?
Well, value. Like, I think I needed, like, with Clean and Colorful Kitchen, this is probably also, if you ever ask me my greatest entrepreneurial regret, I think this is it. Because the Clean and Colorful Kitchen was a sustainable business and it was a good business. And I didn't actually sell the brand. I sold the parts of the business out to pieces and I did try to sell the brand, but I priced it too high because it meant more to me than it did to people who didn't understand the business. And so had I priced it right when I originally put the business on the market, when the numbers were up and we were on a high and I was just ready to exit, somebody could very well still be running the Clean and Colorful Kitchen today, but it was overpriced. And it just got to the point where then the numbers started declining, and you can't really sell a declining business. That's nearly impossible. So if I had been on that, priced it right, listened to the first woman I talked to, it's one of my biggest regrets. And then I never thought I would have sold my blog, but I actually somebody bought the blog. They reached out to me after I had actually essentially abandoned it, but it was a digital property that had a lot of value in it. Someone found on the backlinks. I had like a lot of juice because I did a ton of SEO back in like 2013 to 2017. So it's a really good backlinks on that blog. And someone actually bought that, which was shocking to me. So they wanted that was fun. Oh, and I sold trademarks too. I sold a couple of trademarks. I sold Skinny Teenies. That when I turned that over to a company called Skinny Co. I think they were Skinny Co. And they bought my Skinny Teenies trademarks because I had that trademarked in a bunch of categories too. So I did sell those also.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Lessons learned, lots of experience, lots of lessons learned.
I know. The pricing of a business is a really interesting, but if you are selling a business, sell it on a high. You can't sell it on a low. And just like with a house, like it's got to go out at the right price and it's got to go fast. And I missed the mark on the sale price there, but it's okay.
We live, we learn.
No regrets, only lessons. That's good.
That's a good lesson too. I feel really comfortable being able to talk through that experience with anybody who is in a similar space with but oddly enough, I mean, you have to sell your business when it's doing well. Like you can't sell it when it sucks.
Yeah. Well, we wish you the best of luck. We're gonna watch as your business ascends, and Mandy will keep us updated. So congrats on starting another one, and we can't wait to watch your progress. So we'll give you a quick round of applause. Thank you for sharing all the ins and outs, and we'll put you back in the green room. Hold on.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.